Chevy was in a coma. It's, when you make a documentary about someone, it's not like you get a one sheet from the person going, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I've been through. This is the level of memory I have. You have to like seek it out. Um, by the time I interviewed and you get more information, like that's part of the treasure hunt. Like as you're interviewing different people, you're getting more information. No one sat me down and said, I could Google it and see that he was in the hospital, but I didn't know the details. And it's not like they were readily shared with me at the beginning of the process. So I'm in this process of trying to piece it all together. And it wasn't until I got the interview with Kaylee where she literally says in the film, like, did anyone talk to you about this? Because they weren't that open about it. And I didn't know how much they wanted to share, but I think it explains a lot. And
that there was this shift in his personality or his, memory and all that when he had this medical event that put him in a coma.
It's kind of like, I had initially thought it was from drug use, but the more I learned about what had happened, it was kind of like, oh, this makes sense. Now he can always fall back on jokes like, oh, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
Because he's going to fall back on a joke or a bit to like put something in front of you to stop you from getting what you want, which is part of the dance. But I think his memory is really affected. And then I think there are things he doesn't want to remember. And there are things like a computer that's, was rebooted that he just lost. And I think with regards to Lorne, I mean, show business is ruthless. And Lorne is, I think, in my opinion, ruthless about that show. So he was going to do what he wanted to do. As much as he loves Chevy, he did what he wanted to do with his show. He said a great thing to me that wasn't in the film. He said, Bernie Brillstein said to me, and I never understood it at the time, that the real star of the show is the show. And it's like, that is the star, the show. And so he cares about his show. He cares about people and feelings. He's very thoughtful. But I think he did what he felt he was best for his show.
What was it like interviewing Lorne in his office there? I mean, that's something that not a lot of people have done. So that's a special experience in itself.
Oh my God. I was so excited. It took months and months. But we finally got in that room and we set up. And then they said, oh, he has to have a meeting in here. Could you move all the equipment? And we're like, well, we only have 20 minutes. Like, it'll take us 15 minutes to move everything.
Yeah.
So, but he ended up, it was a very funny interview because he ended up giving me more time and his assistants kept coming in trying to stop the interview. And I was like, literally, I'm almost done. But I was just, I mean, he is.
Yeah. You could have talked to him for days.
Forever. Yeah. Just so insightful and smart and savvy and Canadian. And it was great. I think he enjoyed it. I was thrilled to get him. And Mike Ovitz was another one who really, to me, is really adds a lot. And that took a lot of work as well.
Yeah. The other section of the film that has gotten some attention is everything surrounding Community. You talked about how you tried to get people from Community to be in this film, and pretty much everybody said no. Dan Harmon, the creator, all of the cast. You ended up getting, one of the directors who adds a lot to the film. What was that process like for you? And, why did you feel like it was important to have those people in? And then why do you think that nobody agreed to do it?
It's so funny. And I don't think a lot of people, especially reviewers, understand how documentaries work. It's not like everyone says yes. And especially in this day and age, because there are so many documentary films. And I think a lot of people are overexposed, especially with social media. Of course, I had to have someone from Community. Of course, I wanted it to be the cast. or Dan, who I ran into and literally was like, is that Dan Harmon? My friend was like, I don't know. And I'm like, Dan. And he turned around and I was like, my heart was beating. I'm like, I'm Marina Zenovich. I'm making a film about Chevy Chase. Would you ever be in the film? And he was like, we traded numbers, but in the end, he didn't want to do it. Jay Chandrasekhar is a great storyteller. He was there directing. He directed several episodes, but he kind of knew the lay of the land, and I thought he was a perfect person. I mean, if I didn't get anyone, how was I going to tell that story?
Yep.
Chevy didn't want to talk about it, and you want to you want to get the people who were there. So, I mean, I like to say with docs, you're kind of working with found objects. Like it's whoever you can get to tell the story. You're trying to get the person who's closest to what's happened in that moment. But oftentimes you don't get the right, it's something you don't get the right people. It's just like you don't get people. So you when I got Jay, and he was such a great storyteller and had so much to say, and he was willing to talk about it, that was huge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I can't force people into doing an interview. I mean, it's kind of like, I'll do something like if someone writes and says, one of the cast members, like the assistant wrote back and said, they're not available at that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't even offer a time.
Yeah.
It was just a young kid. And I wrote back and said, like, read your email. Like, I haven't offered a time. Are they available another time? Clearly, it was like a learning on the job. But I wanted to talk to everyone. I mean, I was surprised when Yvette Nicole Brown spoke out on Instagram, but I reached out to her and she didn't want to talk to me. And I get it. And I respect that. But people clearly feel very strongly about what happened. And I did the best that I could. And I think we got some great stories out of it, trying to explain kind of what had happened.
Yeah, I thought one really interesting thing that I hadn't thought about that you drew the connection to, and actually I think Chevy kind of drew himself, is the connection between this incident where he allegedly, said the N-word on set, and what's probably his most iconic SNL sketch with Richard Pryor, another person you have spent a lot of time thinking about, where he said that word on TV on Saturday Night Live in a comedic context, which you obviously couldn't do that sketch. There's a lot of talk about like what comedy you could and couldn't do today, and I think a lot of that is overblown. But like, I think that is a sketch that you probably couldn't do today.
Right.
So yeah, how did you think about the connection between those two things? It says a lot about how comedy has changed, how culture has changed over those decades.
Well, we had to have it in the movie to kind of prove the point.
Yeah.
And show the parallels. But yeah, things have changed a lot. I mean, it's everything and everyone is incredibly sensitive right now for good reason, but it's a bit rude for me. I'm not talking about race in particular. I'm just saying there's a lot of sensitivity.
Yes. Ultimately, when you look at the film as a whole and what you were able to do, what do you think you were able to reveal about Chevy Chase that wasn't known before? What do you sort of hope that people take away from it?
I like the nuance. I like the gray. I don't like black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were able to kind of show who he is without showing everything. Mm-hmm. And I really like to make films that let the audience decide. I don't like to spoon feed. I just like to kind of let the person show who they are. I think, what I really give Chevy kudos for is how he was able to, once he found the perfect partner, like create this family and stop the generational trauma, which just sounds so on the nose, but it's like, that's huge, right? I mean, he has such a loving relationship with his daughters, and it's like he didn't want to do to them what was done to him. And that is kind of a really big deal. So I was really surprised to learn about his upbringing. And I don't think a lot of people know about that. Of course, it doesn't excuse him, but it does really color who he is. What's weird though is the internet just really like wants all the gory, gross stuff and to like pit me against him and all that. It wasn't like that. I have a soft spot for Chevy.
Yeah.
I
No,
really
think
do.
people,
I think he's been through a lot.
yeah, people sort of latched onto this idea that the trauma that he experienced, the abuse that he experienced as a kid would explain or excuse his behavior as an adult. And that's the sort of black and white version of it where, as you said, it is so much more nuanced than that. It might help us understand why he is the way he is, but it doesn't make everything that he has done okay.
Yeah, and when you're making a film like this, I mean, you know, you're trying to tell as much of the story as possible, but you're, as I said before, it's like found objects. You're limited by what you get, who's willing to talk to you, how deep they're willing to go. I mean, these things are not easy.